I am Jessica Locks. I am married to my husband, Ian Locks. I can say that I am content with my relationship. My husband and I are blessed with 4 kids. On top of that, I'm fortunate to have been born into a well off family. My mother is an owner of a corporate company that provides real estate housing and property. And as an only child, everyone expects me to inherit the family business. However, as I settled with my own family, I made a promise to myself that I will not rely on my mother's wealth to achieve something or to even make my life better. I always wanted to make a name for myself out of my hard work and efforts. Hence, ever since I was in college, I started to look for jobs and supported myself financially. Even though my mother insisted on providing for me, I told her that I must learn how to become independent. With that, I was able to save money and land a great job. And that work is where I met my husband. We moved to a different town after our wedding. Our marriage life used to be smooth sailing. However, for the past year, my husband became slacking with his job. He rarely goes to their office, and he is late all the time. Aside from that, he kept on insisting that my mother should help us with our finances because, according to him, her millions are pointless if she won't splurge it on us. The way he said these things to me frustrates me so much. That is why I always tried my best to let him understand it is not my mother's responsibility to raise and support us. We are grown adults and this is our family. We must work hard for our children and not rely on our other family members. But no matter how many times I explain these things to him, his mind is still closed. One afternoon, my children and I were sitting in our backyard, waiting for our barbecues to cook, when my husband came to join us. That's what I thought. He threw a newspaper at me and hit my head. He seems to not care about his actions because I could see the discontentment in his eyes. Read that. What is this all about? Turn to the front page and read it. I followed what he said and I saw my mother's picture. She is headlining today's news. Successful businessman Mary Locks resigns due to poor physical health. I read the caption out loud. My heart started to pump very fast. My mother is sick, and I wasn't even informed about this. Honey, my mother is unwell. We must visit her. I quickly got my phone and started to contact my mother's secretary. They should have updated me about my mother's condition. I must be by her side right now. That is not the point here, Jessica. I was shocked when he grabbed my phone and put it away from me. The sudden rise in his voice tone has shaken me as well. What do you mean? You should be the one acting officer in charge while your mother is in recovery. But why haven't they contacted you? Honey, I don't know. And I shouldn't be worrying about that thing right now. My mother's health is more important. So give me the phone and let me talk to her secretary. You're really stupid, aren't you? Or are you just selfish? What are you talking about? Oh, please, you never wanted that company. Because what? You hate to rely on your mother's wealth, so you'll just let your own family suffer just because of that philosophy of yours. Huh, you're awful. Honey, you know that is not true. Of course, that is true. Can't you see? I cannot stand being in that worthless job anymore. I have all the options to stop going into that dead-ass job because I have a wife whose mother is a millionaire. But she's here acting like an independent and empowered woman, when in fact she is just so self-serving. I held back my tears as I listened to every word that my husband said. What happened to him? He was so angry at me. I did not understand where all of this anger was coming from. Please, give me back my phone. My mother needs me. He hissed and threw the phone at me. He kicked the table and chairs as he went back inside the house. I called my mother's secretary, and after several calls, she finally answered. Hello, Sadie? How is my mother? Hello, Ma'am Jessica. I am so sorry for not notifying you about your mom's condition. We were busy with press conferences and releases, and your mother personally doesn't want you to worry, but rest assured that she has been well taken care of. Oh, thank you. But can you please tell me how her condition is now? The doctor said her high blood pressure is high due to stress. She opted to be hospitalized at home. You can visit her here. I will, Sadie. Can I talk to her? Sure, ma'am. I'll be right back. I waited for Sadie to come back, and while waiting, my heart ached for my mother. After all this time, and even while suffering from her physical condition, she still thinks about me. I wanted to be near her right now. I could hear Sadie talking to my mom softly on the other side, telling her that I wanted to talk to her. And after a few seconds, I could hear the raspy breathing of my mom. And every time I hear it, my heart breaks 1,000 times. Sweetheart. As soon as I heard her voice, I couldn't help it anymore. I cried, and I knew that she noticed my sobs. Please, don't cry. Mommy is fine. I will be fine. How are you? I want to see you, Mom. I did my best not to break my voice. I wanted to hold my mother right now and be by her side. I'm all right. Just a minor inconvenience. No need to worry, Ella. I closed my eyes as I savored her response. I know she is just faking it. She's always like this. She wants to appear strong, but in reality, she needs help. And she is doing this all for me. I will be there tomorrow. Please wait for me. I will, dearest. Sadie got the phone back and tried to calm me as I burst into my tears. Ma'am, Jessica, I want to be honest with you. Your mother's condition took a toll on her overall physical health, and she is very unwell. We will be waiting for you here, and I will do my very best to cater to all her needs. Thank you so much for your service, Sadie. We ended the call, and the first thing I did was to pack my things. My kids saw me crying, and the moment they knew the cause, they immediately packed their things as well. All 4 of them are incredibly close with my mother, and I could feel the concern and worry in them as they knew about their grandmother's failing health. My husband caught us packing, and his temper got worse again. What is the meaning of this? We're going to visit my mother. Oh, really? I thought you were independent. I thought you don't need your mother. Aren't you so proud of yourself that you think you can support yourself on your own? I closed my eyes to control my temper, and I heaved a deep breath to calm myself. Please, Ayan, not now. He grabbed me by the shoulder and pinned me to the wall. You do not have the right to boss around. Just because your mom is a boss doesn't mean you are too. You don't even have the amount of money she has. You're nothing but a prideful bitch. I wanted to slap him so hard, but I did not have the energy to fight back. I couldn't even feel the pain from his aggressive actions. My mind was fixated on my mom's condition. So go now. Go to your mom and make sure you bring a large sum of money. Do something useful and lower your pride. No matter how many times I explained everything to him, he just couldn't understand the reason for my independence. He let go of me and immediately went to my kids' room. I stayed with them the entire night because I couldn't be in the same room with my husband. His cruelty is just too much. But it doesn't matter because first thing in the morning we will be out of this house and finally be reunited with my mother. I woke up very early the next morning. I immediately checked my phone to see if Sadie sent me a message. But the moment I started reading all the messages, my hand was shaking so fast. My heart was trembling and my knees almost lost their balance as I read that one message. She's gone. I'm sorry, Ma'am Jessica. I collapsed to the floor. I held my heart and I couldn't even properly breathe. I wept and mourned my mother's death. I couldn't even be with her during her last breath. My kids cried as well. My husband came to us and said the most awful words possible.
Finally, she's dead. Are you going to take over the company now?
I wanted to punch him just to bring him back to his senses. Why is he so rude? He kept on insisting on me having my mother's wealth and privilege. It is not mine to claim. Please, Ayan, do not even start. He just scuffled and smirked at me as he left us there, mourning and crying. My phone rang and I answered it immediately. It was Sadie. She told me that she is on her way here to our house and she wants to discuss with me my mother's testament. I told her that maybe it is not yet the right time to talk about those things, but she asserted to me that it is very urgent. There was nothing I could do, so I agreed with her. After a few hours, Sadie finally arrived. I escorted her to my study. She wasted no time, as she immediately handed me the documents as soon as I sat down. I know you are still grieving. Yes, I am. I haven't seen my mother yet, and you want me to discuss the inheritance right away? I'm sorry, but I'm just following the protocol. I heaved a sigh. My mother has always been very organized. She wants everything to be thorough and follow the necessary process. That is why I don't have a choice but to follow her orders. And with that, Sadie was about to discuss to me the contents of the document when the door opened. It was my husband.
It is such a shame considering you left me out. I am Jessica's husband, and I deserve to know everything.
I'm sorry, but I cannot do that, sir. The protocol explicitly highlighted that only Ma'am Jessica must read the document.
Nonsense. This is complete nonsense. What will happen if I stay here? Will someone shoot me or arrest me? Mary is dead, and the dead can't hear nor see us. So get on with it and let me know whether my wife will inherit all her wealth or not.
Again, I controlled myself. I don't want to start any fight, not today when my mother just passed away. I signaled Sadie to continue and that it is okay to have him with us. Sadie discussed my mother's testament, including her desires for the company, plans for the future, and community. She also told me about my mother's decision about her lands, assets, and liabilities, including my husband's obsession with her wealth.
So, will Jessica have it?
Sadie cleared her throat as she was going to read my mother's testament. I, Mary Locks, bestow all properties, lands, assets, intangible and tangible necessities, and wealth written under my name and possession to my only kin, Marilla Locks.
What? Who is that?
Sadie looked so confused. Marilla Locks? Madam Mary's daughter?
So, what are you saying? That Jessica has a sister?
What do you mean? Marilla is an only child, sir. My husband's frustration has already gotten to him. He was so full of anger.
You are not a legitimate child?
He shouted at me. Did he think of that? I saw how Sadie
was so confused, but I'm quite getting everything here.
My husband thinks that I am not a legitimate child because the inheritance is to be passed down to someone named Marilla Locks. But I am Marilla Locks. Marilla is my birth name. I always hated that name because my classmates always bully me for having an old woman's name. That is why when I was 13 years old, I started to call my name Jessica, and the people around me grew accustomed to that name except my mother. And from her words, she would say, "Whatever name you may call yourself, you will always be my Marilla, my one and only Marilla." My heart breaks again as I remembered my mother's voice. However, I have to deal with the situation at hand. I gave Sadie intense eye contact, telling her to go with the flow, and she was smart enough to understand it right away. Hence, I will trick my husband into thinking that I am truly an illegitimate child. "I'm sorry, honey." I tried to reach out for his hand, but he pushed me away.
I get it now. That's why you don't want to ask for help and money from your mother because you don't even have that authority. You are nothing but a bastard daughter.
He shouted right into my face and slammed the door right in front of me as he walked out. Sadie came to my aid and hugged me. I told her everything about my husband, his harsh words, insults, downgrading, and mistreatments towards me. She was so mad and promised me that she would protect me at all costs. On top of that, Sadie will become my assistant now that my mother is gone, which made me feel a little better. Later that night, my husband left us. My kids cried so hard and were asking me for the reason for our separation. I told them that things weren't going well with us both and that we should part ways. On the following days, we spent our entire time tending at my mother's funeral. I haven't heard anything from my husband as well. I bet he truly buys that narrative. I have had enough of his mistreatments. He was lucky to have someone as patient and understanding as me, because there were times when he has finally pushed my button, but I chose to remain calm because I still respect him as my husband and the father of my children. But that respect has never been reciprocated. His words and actions towards me says it all. It has always been so easy for him to insult and make me feel bad about myself. Months passed and there was no sign of my husband leaving. I have already filed the divorce papers because I wanted to be set free from him completely. I became the CEO of my mother's company, now mine. I took over the legal and administrative decisions for my mother's entire business empire. I worked every day to honor the memory and hard work of my mother as well, and within a span of a short time, I was able to make a mark in the industry. I made innovative and progressive changes in our company that were acknowledged nationally and even internationally. My newfound success is taking charge of the company proves me to be a capable leader. I want to make my mother proud of me, always. I devoted my time and effort to making her company shine and be loved around the world, because I know in that way I can take pride in her as well. One day while I was preparing for a weekly board meeting, I heard a commotion, shouting and stomping, perhaps from the hallway? It was so loud that I could even hear it inside my office. The noise became prominent as it came closer and closer and closer. The door opened by force. It was my husband, all ragged, and he looked pale. Behind him were security guards trying to stop him from entering.
"Jessica, honey, please."
Ayan was about to come near me when two of the guards grabbed him. He whimpered and even punched some of them. "Stop it!" He stopped and everyone stopped. He stepped forward and I signaled the guards to allow him. As soon as he came near, he immediately went to his knees.
"Jessica, please, I've realized my mistake. I've seen what you have accomplished as Marilla. You have become a successful CEO, and I'm sorry for leaving you when you needed me the most.
I just stared at him coldly. It's too late, David. You chose to abandon me when I needed your support. You saw me as poor and useless, but you failed to see the potential within me.
I was blinded by our financial struggles, Jess. I thought the company and its wealth were everything, but I see now that I was wrong. I miss you, and I want us to be together again.
You had your chance, David. You left me when I was at my lowest, and I will never forget that. I filed for divorce because I realized I deserve better than someone who only values me for my wealth. I'm sorry, but we are over. I instructed the guard to let him out, and they did instantly. My decision is firm. I am leaving my husband behind. I didn't let that inconvenience stop me from seizing my day. So I went to the boardroom swiftly. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for your continued support and trust in our company. Under my leadership, we have experienced tremendous growth and success. Together, we will reach even greater heights. All investors applauded and seemed to be impressed by my speech. Later that night, as I was sitting at my desk, going through some documents, I glanced at the framed photo of myself and Ayan, feeling a mix of sadness and determination. I held my heart and whispered to myself, I loved you, David, but you underestimated me. I will not let anyone define my worth based on material possessions. I have risen above the challenges, and I will continue to thrive together with my kids.